Hi guys, welcome back to August Love Story, the channel. My name is Artieka.
I'm Tommy.
And today we are reviewing Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 13. That episode is titled Popping the Questions. If you guys haven't already, please take a minute to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and let's review. I'm turning too much for you.
No, I'm just laughing at how your mic is just sitting up there.
I had to turn it around, make it feel right.
All right, whatever.
All right, is there any particular couple you would like to start with?
No, man. I wrote a lot for everybody.
I did not. I fell asleep on certain couples. Katina and Elijah, who we'll start with, because that's the order that I have them in.
Let's do it.
All right, so Katina and Elijah finally go grocery shopping together.
Yeah.
I've been wondering why this hasn't happened for, the whole season. But I realized that they're both lost in the kitchen.
What you mean?
They were talking about making some ribs.
Yeah.
And was like, she was like, you put some seasonings on them. And he was like, what kind of seasonings you gonna put on? She was like, salt and pepper and barbecue sauce. I was like, barbecue sauce is not a seasoning.
Nah, it's not.
It's a sauce. But I was like, anything other than salt and pepper? Like,
yeah. You're spoiled when it comes to ribs.
Okay.
Not to toot my own horn, but toot.
Okay. So, cool. Even before you, my mama makes a good rib, right? So, it was just like, I don't make ribs ever.
Yeah.
But I know how to season food. And I was just like, we gotta have something.
See, everything that I had an issue with when they were at the grocery store was the requirement so bad for her.
And he don't know how to do it
and
either.
He don't know how to do it either. Like, why is it that I'm going to require you to do something that I'm not good at?
There's only two things in his life that he has been able to say that he has accomplished that she hasn't. He paid off his student loans.
And bought a house. And she's still in school, so I wouldn't expect her to have purchased a home. Being still in school, and I don't know if she's taking out student loans and working this full-time job, but I would hope that she's just paying for school. Yeah.
Because I think she also lived at home with her mom. So
yeah, I think so too.
Paying for school shouldn't have been that big of a deal.
Right.
So this week, everybody's sitting down with either Pastor Cal or Dr. Pepper. Of course, the most problematic person in the relationship sits down with Dr. Pepper. So that leaves Katina with Pastor Cal.
Yep.
She did tell Pastor Cal about the dating app, and he advised her that she needs to talk to Elijah about his triggers. And I was like, everything triggers him.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we talk to him about it? I'm saying we because I'm viewing public, but I'm putting myself in the house because I'm watching it. How do you talk to him about his triggers? Because he's triggered by everything.
And it's his.
Mm-hmm.
And it's his triggers. It's like, I can't, I can't control what you, like your issue.
Was he going to be able to list down on a sheet of paper, I'm going to go off if she has dating apps on her phone?
But I think one of his biggest issues in this whole process is I don't think he's forgiven himself for the things that he's done. Like he hasn't truly come to terms with the things that he's done. Mm-hmm. And that because of that, anything can trigger him and cause it to be a issue with what's the current relationship he's in. Because it's like the dating app, for example, we're saying, oh, we wouldn't trip off of that. which in a normal situation, most people wouldn't trip off of that. Most people would be like, well, are you using it? Like, you know, would their first instance wouldn't be, oh, she's cheating on me.
Yeah.
You know, you can even go with the understanding of, well, I've only known her for 4 weeks. She might have been doing this before me or something like that. But it's like, you have to understand that a person has a past. Mm-hmm. He has to understand that he has a past, like, which, you know, his triggers are things that he's saying he would do, you know? So, I don't know.
No, he's just triggered. They do talk about their sex life and her not wanting to be dizzy off the D.
Dizzy. She made a pastor say that.
He just was like dizzy because he was so uncomfortable. Yeah.
He was like, don't make me blush.
I get it because it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Because you fall into this whole everything is snowflakes and peaches and cream and we're happy about everything. But really you are overlooking a lot of things because of it. I already feel like she's overlooking a lot of things and it's just going to be an added layer of overlooking. So yeah, I'm happy that she knows that much about herself to know that that's a possibility.
One thing that Pastor Kyle said that I was like deciphering through was when he was when he said lust in marriage is good. And I was like, at first I was like, why would you lust after something else? But to clean it up, or my cleanup process was lusting your spouse is good. Like wanting to want your spouse, or wanting to, in this case, have sex with your spouse is never a bad thing.
Right.
It becomes a bad thing when you don't have the desire, which it happens. For whatever reason, you don't have that desire to have sex with your spouse. And it may not be because you're not attracted to that person. It may be something just in you, you know? And I hope when they were having that conversation that he kind of went more in detail with that, because I mean, like, hearing it, it's like to the naked ear, you're like, what? I can go out here and lust over X, Y, and Z, because I mean, like, that's one of the 7 sins or something. Don't lust after somebody else's adultery. You know, here I go making up stuff and stuff. But, you know, lust has always had a negative connotation when it came to
travel down the wrong road twice. Lust, adultery.
Right. But it's you know, it always had a negative connotation when it came to marriage. You know, so that just kind of stood out to me when he was talking to her about that. And then he also said, Katina, there's some doubt that Katina is holding on to, that she needs to confront. And my belief is that doubt is that she doesn't want to do this. Like his responses to a lot of the things that she's gone through is like what's holding her back from like truly wanting to be a part of this marriage. Which throughout this whole season, I've been like, man, she just needs to step up and talk. And for him to realize like she's in the marriage, like she married a stranger too. You know,
because she definitely treats this relationship like I cater to whatever you say, and I'm not an active participant. I'm always trying to improve myself to be his wife.
Right.
And that's just not fair.
And
because
it's not
he's
fair.
Not working to improve himself to be.
Right. And it's agitating as well. So
Elijah sat down with Dr. Pepper, and he basically told her that they have differences in opinion, and he wants Katina to be okay with that. I was like, I get what he's saying, but it's very difficult to, if everything that I say is going to cause an argument, I'm not going to throw my opinion out there, because some things are better left as I don't have to waste my time saying this. I mean, there's going to be a lot of things in your relationships that you do have to do that for. I think Katina is doing that too much. Yeah. Because sometimes he'll look to her for an answer and she'll be looking at him like a deer in headlights. Like, I'm not saying anything. Like, you got the floor. So they do talk about what I wrote down as Appgate. Yeah. And Dr. Pepper told him that he talks down to Katina. Basically like, you acted a fool about this app and you talk to her like she's a subordinate. And she's not. She's your equal. She's your wife. And he's like, no, I don't. She's like, you've told the girl that she doesn't have any life skills. If that's not talking down to somebody, I don't know what is. I don't know what he views as talking down to someone, but he definitely does it to his wife. And basically he was like, if Katina feels like I talk down to her, then she should definitely say no on decision day. I'm like,
well, I think he hears people taking jabs at him and doesn't listen to it.
No, he doesn't.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, when she brought up the fact that he was like talking about her maturation, like her, like questioning her as an adult. Like, we all sat here and watched him question her as an adult. And he was, his answer to that, or his excuse to it was, well, that was in the beginning of our relationship. And, you know,
y'all are still in the beginning of your relationship.
Right. Like, he was like, well, I had only known her for a few weeks at that point. Now I know her for a few more weeks, you know, but it's like what I was thinking when she brought it up was, you have done this behavior before with the maturation thing. And then here it is, you're doing it with the dating app thing. Like, what's next? Like, you have to nip this behavior in the bud, because I'm kind of jumping around at this point now, but when he got back with the group and he was saying Dr. Pepper didn't help him any, she just kind of like threw stones at him and stuff like that. It's like, you're not heeding to what she's saying.
Nobody was like, well, Elijah, you're absolutely correct, because he was incorrect.
Right. He was completely wrong. It's like he, like, what she did and what we expect from the experts to do is point out where you got them messed up at.
Well, definitely. I think I said this on the live with Jack and Glenn a couple of weeks ago. I wish that in these group settings, they would hold each other more accountable.
Like the participants. Yeah, definitely.
Your castmates, you're all doing the exact same thing at the exact same time. I definitely think that you guys should hold each other accountable. And that's not to say that you're infiltrating someone's marriage, but when you see certain behaviors, like, it's okay to be like, no, that's wrong.
Yeah. Like, you have to build that relationship to get to that point. And I feel like that's what you do. That's why you have in these group settings. That's why these questions are being asked and everything like that. So it's like, you have to step up and say something. You can't just let things fly. And I doubt they knew about some of the things, but when he brought that to the table, you can't, like, somebody has to say, no, you can't, like, talk to her privately. You know, when they all was at the table together. But I felt like the conversation between Dr. Pepper and Elijah was going in one ear out the other, and he was just getting mad for no reason.
He was defending himself instead of reflecting on what had been said.
And that's what Dr. Pepper wanted him to do. Reflect on what you've done, what you've said, and try to figure out how do you move forward. And what he was saying was, We already figured it out.
No, I figured it out.
Yeah, we're good.
He does speak for her in their relationship a lot. He also told Dr. Pepper that he doesn't know if he's going to say yes or no. No, he didn't say he didn't know. He said he was refusing to give an answer as to if he would say yes or no on decision day. I was like, is this supposed to lead us up to some type of like suspenseful moment? Because it doesn't. Y'all give everything away on after party. So next up, were you done with him?
Well, I was gonna say Dr. Pepper had addressed him quickly and swiftly when she walked into the room at the volleyball court. She was like, "What you ain't gonna say?"
Like, not today, not the one. Ooh, you got me messed up.
Too funny, man. But she cleaned it up well. And Pastor Carol was basically saying that Katina needed to bring resolution to their situation. But her resolution is always to just let him win. Yeah.
And I'm not saying, okay, win is the wrong word. Let him have this moment.
Yeah.
Because Jay-Z said nobody wins when the family feuds.
One thing I don't think he understands is that he also said he's not in love. Love is not on the table.
And he said, I'm not in love. And Pastor Cal was like, yet.
Right. Like, why do you... I think his problem is he was like, I hold love to a greater standard. Why?
That feels like, who said they had never been in love in Atlanta? Ryan. And then he told Claire he loved her.
Yeah.
And it's like...
he wore that as a badge of honor.
Yeah. And I guess I would rather be the person that's like thinking that I've loved and I've reflected on it and realized that wasn't love than to be the person that's walking around like, I ain't never been in love before.
All right.
It's just...
like, why not? Because it's like, if you're 40 years old and never been in love, something's wrong with you. Because you don't know how to, like, if you don't...
I'm sorry, I had a personal moment. I just realized how close to 40 I am now.
Oh, yeah, true. Oh, everybody, Artieka's birthday was this past week, so happy birthday, love.
I felt like, in that exact moment, I felt like Kevin Hart and Don Cheadle.
Damn.
I'm sorry.
Anyway,
I'm sorry.
That's all I have for them, man.
Oh, gosh. Oh, this headache is getting to me. So Mark and Lindsay.
All right.
So they start off with a disagreement.
They ain't gonna make it. Just gotta put that out. They ain't gonna make it.
Was there disagreement about the laundry?
I don't know what their disagreement was about, man. Communication issues is what I wrote.
She keeps saying, I need consistency. And I'm like, all you do consistently is talk. Stop.
She was like, you don't care for me, value, or show up for her. He was like, okay.
I did write that down. He says he needs her to learn to speak to him instead of yelling at him. And she said he doesn't value, respect, or show up for her. And I was like, ouch.
Right.
Or as you say, ouchie.
Ouchie.
Mark sat down with Pastor Cal and Lindsay sat down with Dr. Pepper, and Mark says that he sees his mom screaming at his dad when he sees Lindsay screaming at him, and he doesn't want to end up like his dad. And goes back to what Noy said earlier in the season, that you marry your spouse's childhood experiences and childhood traumas, and having your mom yell at your dad and you not like it, and yet it consistently happens, and you always feel like your dad should have said more or should have done more, can definitely be triggering in a relationship. Especially if your mom is somebody as loud and abrasive as Lindsay. Not sure how his mom is, because when he talks about his mom, he makes it seem like the last however many years of her life, she's been in depression. So I don't really know how that really works. Pastor Cal basically told him that Lindsay needs to feel secure with him. And I don't know how he can present himself as secure. Mark's life is falling apart. Like, point blank period.
Yeah.
Like, since he started this experiment, he has lost his job. He's lost his place of residence. And then he also has someone throwing it back in his face. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely very difficult for him to feel like he's getting his footing in life because he keeps getting things thrown at him. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard, especially when you're going through things like that, to have someone throwing it back in your face.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have anywhere to live. I can lock the door and you got to go to your mama. Oh, wait, you can't do that either? Like, that's not the type of person that you want to be married to.
Right. And that was the thing that Dr. Pepper was talking with Lindsay about, was like her, like, getting angry at him and going for the juggler. Mm-hmm. You know, she was like, why do you lean so hard into that? And she was like, when she gets sad, she gets angry.
That's something she didn't figure out. Why?
And that's what Dr. Pepper was like, why you can't lean into the sad part. It's easier to deal with a person who's not, because how she displays her anger or her response to the anger is so deep and negative. It's like, you would never want anybody to. Nobody's ever going to want to be with you, let alone this man, Mark. Like, because at this point, Dr. Pepper doesn't even know the issues that Mark has with, you know, his daddy and mama issues.
Because that was something that came up in the conversation with
Pastor Cal. So it's like them, like Dr. Pepper sitting and talking to Lindsay about the issue of sadness and anger, and basically leaning more into, because you're sad, you get angry, and you're sad all the time with this man. And so you're always taking jabs at him, and he's never responding in the way that you want him to. And it's just a vicious cycle. And it's like, you have to look at it from a different standpoint.
I am a person who has been depressed before, right? And I'm just equating that with sadness, right? Mm-hmm. If you're sad every day, that's something you got to work on in yourself, because it's not his job to make you not be sad. Mm-hmm. Like, there has to be something in your life that sparks joy. There has to be something in your life that sparks happiness. And if Mark is the opposite of that, then this is not the marriage for you. Mm-hmm. Especially because it's married at first sight, and this is not some traditional, we dated, we got engaged, we spent all this money on a wedding type situation. Yeah. It's much easier to sever ties because there is a D-Day. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, there's an easy, clear ending to this situation. And it's very easy to just be like, at the 8th week, we don't have to talk to each other anymore. Because if you're realizing that you're having this type of sadness in your life and it's turning into this type of anger, I'd rather spend the next, they got 3 weeks left, 2 weeks left?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
I'd rather spend the next 2 weeks helping you find you somewhere to live.
Right. Because you know, like, this
isn't going to work. And we can agree that this isn't going to work. So if we can agree that this isn't going to work, my friendly thing to do. Yeah. Like, let's end this as friends. Right, let's end this where if I saw you out somewhere, I wouldn't be like, ugh, there's my ex-husband. I'd be like, hey, Mark, how you doing?
Right. But that's the issue. Like, it's crazy because they went through this whole therapy session with Pastor Cal and Dr. Pepper, and they had an argument. Like I guess the week that passed between them getting to the group and talking with the experts.
Mm-hmm.
And you can look at like Dr. Pepper and Pastor Kyle in the back were pointing out the fact that he looks clocked out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like she's leaning, trying to talk to him and stuff like that. But he's like just over to the side.
He's literally, it's like that one video that was like going viral for a minute where the lady thought her husband was sad and he was just trying to figure out why his car wouldn't start.
Yeah.
Like that's Mark. But Mark is like, okay, I can get my job back once this filming is over with. Where can I stay until I can take a couple of check stubs over to an apartment complex and find somewhere to live? Like he's trying to figure that part out.
Yeah.
That's what he looks like. He's mentally like, I am not here. The blinders ain't there. Nothing's going on upstairs.
I'm ready to say no, but I got 2 weeks left. So
I am calculating every other part of my life that I need to figure out.
Yeah.
At the ending of the conversation with Dr. Pepper, they talked about the questions that Lindsay should ask. One of them was, what is love? Can Mark define an emotional connection? And can he walk away from disagreements before they boil over? I kind of took offense to that last question for him because I don't think that Mark is the boil over point of the arguments. And I don't think that it's his job to make them not boil over, because in the bowling alley, we watched Mark walk away before the argument started to boil over. And she just kept throwing daggers at the argument. Like she says, go home to your mama. She gets in the bathroom and starts screaming. And it's like, he can control himself, but she can't control herself. And let's not act like this is normal behavior. Lindsay is 34 years old. That's something that you should be able to control at 34 years old.
And it should be a behavior that you recognize as a problem and you get help for it.
Or you figure it out on your own, whatever it takes. But it should definitely be a problem that you recognize and you can figure out. I just don't understand why it was a question of him being able to walk away over disagreements when she should be the one who needs to learn how to, as Tommy says, let's table this argument and come back to it when we're not in the wanting to yell and scream portion of the argument. They get together and I think I missed everything that happened, but I know that they sat down and they debriefed their day over some chicken. And I felt like Mark, when he was like, what kind of chicken is it? Because I was like, that don't look good.
Yeah, he ate it with a fork and knife.
But she did too.
Did she?
I mean, I've eaten chicken with a fork and a knife. Don't get me wrong. Baked chicken, you can eat with a fork and a knife. But as I was looking at that chicken, I was like, that does not look good, Lindsay. What did you bake this with? Yeah. But I digress. I've always felt like if she would just turn herself down a few notches, and he could turn himself up a few notches, they could work. But at this point, I don't think she knows how to, and I don't think he wants to. Yeah,
I don't think he wants to. That's why I was like, they ain't gonna make it.
Yeah. I mean, no, I get exactly what you're saying with that. But like, you get what I mean? Like, if she could just dial it back a little bit and he could be Mark the Shark. Yeah. I think that it could work, but I don't think that he wants to, and I don't think she has the capacity to. Yeah. You got anything else for them? Noy and Steve. So Noy meets with Pastor Cal and Steve with Dr. Pepper. Yeah. This is the relationship that I thought it was the inverse of who met, because I thought that Steve would have done okay
with Pastor
Cal, and Noy needed the hard-hitting questions of Dr. Pepper. But Steve tells Dr. Pepper about Noy's social media posts, and she definitely agreed, much like everybody else in the world. I call it being Facebook emotional. Noy has to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Noy's not going to stop, but Noy needs to stop, because the general public does not need to know that much about your relationship. I mean, I guess you're on a TV show. Like, let's take all of that out of the equation. But like, the world should know the exact moment that Steve pissed you off. Because when you post something like that on Instagram, people begin speculating every part of your life. And like, nobody wants to be at home. And Tommy and I recently had a moment like this where we saw somebody post something on Facebook, and they weren't even talking about their spouse, but we were like, their relationship can be such a on and off switch. And we're like, hey, call and check on him and make sure he's okay. And thank God nothing was wrong.
Right.
But it was just a situation of like, you don't want to have to feel like you have to check on people in their relationship because they post some vague statement online.
Right.
Because if I posted something like that, I don't think anybody in my life would automatically be like, she having problems with Tommy at home.
Yeah, nah.
They probably think it's more so Lily.
Right. They would.
So Dr. Pepper said that he hasn't taken a job, and maybe that's making Noy feel away. And she suggested that he comes up with a plan financially. He said he's done that. Or he's offered to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And Noy just is like, is the plan get a job?
Yeah.
Because if that's not the plan, don't really want to talk about it. He also was supposed to ask her if they can start keeping their relationship issues within the relationship. Spoiler alert, she says no. Noy talks to Pastor Cal, and Noy tells Pastor Cal that she needs to talk to Steve about not being able to hold down a job. And Pastor Cal told her that she needs to ask how is he going to make her feel financially secure.
Yeah.
Now, fast forwarding, or actually it's a rewind, to last week's after party episode, Noy said he needed $40,000 in the bank to feel financially secure. When I watched the after party, Steve was like, well, then if she needs $40,000 in the bank, she has absolutely nothing to worry about because I got that. So I was like, all right, so he at least has $40,000 in the bank.
Yeah.
It might be $40,000 in a penny.
But it's 40,000.
But he at least has 40,000. If that's her,
I think he's told her how much he has saved up, and she said 40,000 to like just say, okay, here's a number,
because that's all said after all the filming is wrapped.
Like she knows what it is, and they're fine. But she know that she had to say a number
because she looked crazy on TV.
Right.
And I mean, again, everybody's one of the going things is we wouldn't be treating Steve this way if his name was Jamal. If Jamal had $40,000 in the bank,
somebody still would be like, he needs a job.
I mean, and Noy is saying that. So it would always be a Noy out there.
Well, I think their issue, and I think they brought it up when they talked to the experts, is that they're not actually talking about the serious issue. Like, even when they sat down to make this plan for, I guess how they're going to split everything and stuff, that plan didn't even like have a plan to it. It was just, we were writing down some things, but it didn't have a clear goal in mind, you know?
I think that Steve definitely broke down a lot of aspects of things.
Yeah.
Like when he was talking about kids, he was like, what do diapers cost? What does this cost? What does that cost? Because we have to know the cost of all these things. And you do need to know the cost of all these things. Like that's something that's important. And that's something that a lot of people don't take into account is how much things cost.
Well, I'm talking more so of the plan of, like, I guess a business plan. Like I thought, like when in the conversation with Dr. Pepper, was it Dr. Pepper that Steve talked to?
Mm-hmm.
In the conversation with her, it's windy outside.
It is very windy. I got confused.
But I'm looking out the window. But in the conversation with Dr. Pepper, it was like, you need to make a plan to make her feel financially secure. Okay. He never came up with that plan because he then sat at the table to come up with a plan that he wanted to come up with her.
Mm-hmm. And she offered nothing to the conversation.
Offered absolutely nothing to it. And that's another thing too that bothers me with Noy is that she does not offer anything to this relationship. Mm-hmm. She only complains about the fact that he does not work, but does not offer anything to help guide this relationship into a better place. Like if your complaint is that he doesn't work and you never tell him, like you can't complain about that.
No, I definitely agree with that. We're 6 weeks into this relationship. The chief complaint that she has is that he doesn't have a job, yet she's never talked to him about what is his plan. I don't understand that.
I don't understand it either. And you talk to everybody else around you, but don't go to the source and be like, yo, this is why this bothers me. I don't feel secure. And he's trying now. And he's asked of things from her, and she's still saying no to those things. Like the social media post, she looked in his face. He asked about it. She was like, that wasn't about you. And she's not going to do it. You know what I'm saying? But it's like she's not understanding where he's coming from. And I get his side of it.
She's a very rigid person in this relationship, and she has her set of things that she's like, this is how they're going to operate. And I don't really care what else you have to say. I know that we weren't going to get in-depth details about what his plan was because that's not our business as the general viewing public. However, I do wish that,
he don't want to change diapers though.
Nobody wants to change diapers.
No, nobody wants to, but hey,
like I feel like sometimes we be looking like rock, paper, scissors around here. Matter of fact, last weekend I know we were. But Steve obviously has some type of plan in his mind that's going to work, because the average person is not out here saving $40,000 not in a 401k. Right?
Like it's like the conversation it's one of the easiest conversations to have with anybody like that you're close to. Because when you talk about finances, okay, we're straight today, but what happens in 20 years? What happens in 30 years? What's your ideal in that time frame? And how do we get there? Or what are you reaching for? What's your magic number? What's your magic thing? Because Steve's, if you listen to the conversations that he's having about him not wanting to work, it's because he even said it, I think, in this episode. He's had opportunities to do entrepreneurship, have different businesses and do things on his own and earn his own money. And he's like, I would rather do that, because he's looking at the situation from, and I get it, I get his side of it. He's looking at the situation from a standpoint of he was let go. He was let go and had to fend for himself. Like his security blanket was removed, not because of him, not because of anything he did, but because the world shut down.
And most of the people that I know that have taken, that have become profitable entrepreneurs, that's literally what happened to them too.
Yeah.
Like they were in a position, they either got fired or they were laid off or something of that nature. And they were like, look, I don't want anybody to be able to stop my income but me.
Yeah.
So if I'm the only person that can stop my income, let me find my path, even if they're doing the exact same thing that they were doing, which it seems like that's what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want anyone to be able to take that away from them. I look at my stepdad, and when he started his business, there was a conversation with my mom where he was like, I just need a year. And in this year, either I'll go back to work or you can quit your job. And in that year's time, she was able to quit her job and no longer work. So when you look at it from that standpoint, Noi just does not want to, she doesn't want to offer that flexibility, even though he's saying that this flexibility isn't going to impact you at all. I got the money to take care of our day-to-day bills for however long.
It's just he's asking for the time to figure out. He's asking for the year that your dad did. And for Noah, she's looking at it as my security. One, she's looking at it from a selfish standpoint. I don't want to be the only one working.
That's literally what her biggest gripe is. She's getting up every day and Steve and Sushi are snoring and bonding.
Yeah, they're kicking it. That's what it looks like to her. But it's like, let them figure it out. You know, like, but have the conversation. That's the issue. It's like, once you have the conversation, you talk to this person, you give this person your gripes and everything like that. If everything else is good, but then this is one thing, asking him to go get a job, you might as well break up. But asking him to say, hey, how do I help? Or what are you doing? Or what's the plan? And being in support of him for that plan, to push him to be greater, to push him to do more, because like nobody wants to not have. And her ideal is, well, if he doesn't have a job, then we're going to and I have to be the main one.
We're going to be in the poorhouse.
Right. And I get that part, but it's like, you have to see it from his side. There's no way around it.
Agreed. You have anything else for them?
No, that's it for them.
Noah exhausts me.
Yeah. Noah has a lot to grow up. She got a lot of growing up to do.
So last but not least, Jasmina and Michael. Michael talks to Pastor Cal, Jasmina to Dr. Pepper. Michael says he initially was doing things out of obligation in their relationship. And when he was able, as he did things out of obligation of being her spouse, he actually came to enjoy those things. But he also told Jasmina that she doesn't need to do things out of obligation. And Pascal's like, that's the dumbest thing you
boy.
And I never thought about it in that manner, that you do things out of obligation until they become something that you want to do every day. Or not necessarily every day, but for that person. And so he was like, we used to kiss each other before bed and then we stopped. And I was like, how do you initiate that again? How do you get that started? Is it like a conversation or do you just do it? Because Jasmina doesn't seem repulsed by him, but she definitely seems as if she's friend zoned him.
Yeah.
Like, Michael is cool and we just so happen to be married. Because there's no awkwardness when they touch each other. Like when he was cooking, she was very close behind him, leaning into things. So there's not a matter of her being uncomfortable with him.
Michael needs to love it. Basketball, that thing, man. I make a basket, you strip.
I don't think
Simply
that's going
put,
to
man.
work, sir.
Simply put. No, I think that was the weird thing for me too. I didn't understand, you dialing back, because I would feel a way if we're kissing before bed, and because those are things that I would like. I would look at those things as being a positive for married people. Mm-hmm. Kiss before you go to bed, you hold hands, you hug, you text each other, you do this, you do that. But it's intimacy, right? Mm-hmm. And we're having it. But then all of a sudden you stop. And it's like, okay, you stop. But I like those things. I liked it when you did it. So what do I need to do to get you doing it? Because if you're doing it just because this is what you think a wife should do, then keep doing it. Because I think as my wife, I want you to do those things.
You better do it until the end of week 8.
Right. Do it until, you know.
Especially if nobody is uncomfortable and it's not a position of we've never done these things before. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not saying push it to sex, but
I mean, doing that helps lead to sex.
No, that's what I'm saying. But I'm not saying that you need to like
Mike ain't got no game,
push
man.
it.
He ain't got no game. I'm telling you, man.
I don't think that you need to push it to like sex being the goal of you pushing it, the intimacy this far. But I think it needs to be to a point where it begins to feel organic between the two of them.
Yeah.
Jasmina says that, she was telling Dr. Pepper that the lack of knowledge about Michael's past worries her. And I'm like, well, you need to ask better questions because, and not even just asking better questions, but immersing yourself with his family, especially because his family seems to all appear local. Like getting everybody together to do something, because there were a lot of things about you that I did not pay attention to until I met your entire family and the family dynamics. Mm-hmm. Like even something as simple as you like a lot of people over because you grew up in a house with a lot of people. Mm-hmm. That's not something that you would ever have told me about yourself.
Right.
In those words, it was something that I had to experience and learn about your family. So going back to your childhood home and, learning that, hey, you slept in this room and it was this many bathrooms in the house. And you used to try to go run and beat this person to the bathroom because they take all this time in the bath. Like it lets you learn more about the person. Yeah. Other than like more than just you sitting down saying, I live with my mama and my grandmama and my uncle. And it was like this. Because I understand those people and their personalities. Mm-hmm. So you get to like understand more about it.
Yeah.
Basically, Dr. Pepper told her that they need to create more opportunities for touch. Pastor Cal said the same thing. I don't know if either of them are going to take heed to this, but the good thing is both of them had the same conversation with their respective expert.
Yeah.
And it led to the same questions essentially.
Yeah.
And they're both like, okay, so we are on the same page about this. It's just figuring out how this works.
How to proceed with it. And it's simple for me. The way I look at it is simple. It's let me hold your hand. And she said they like cuddle up with each other when they're watching movies and stuff like that. But it's like, let me hold your hand. Let me hug you. Like I'm a hugger. Mm-hmm. So
I just told you that today.
Like I know it. I know this about myself, man. Mm-hmm. It's nothing better than a warm embrace. I mean, like one of those big hugs too, like both arms around and tap the back a little bit, like that's what you do. And you take pride in, this is my wife or this is my husband, that type of deal. But for me, touch is so easy, especially because I'm a touchy feely person, Now it gets difficult when, you got a touchy person and you don't have a touchy person, but it's in some instances you can't help it. Mm-hmm. Like a little slide by the booty, touch it by mistake and see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, do stuff like that.
You can't touch it by mistake and see what happens. It's on purpose.
You can intentionally touch somebody, you know. Like, let me slide. I be doing that to you all the time. Well, let me slide by her booty and see what she do. You know. What's the small of her back? Just put your hand there. Like, while you talking to her. See what happens. She's not going to say anything. Anyway, I just feel like Mike ain't got no game. And
Mike has probably been a guy that doesn't feel like he's had to have game either.
I was that guy once. But I think that's the joys of, like, I think that's one of the things that I like with you is, like, I can, like, do things like that. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I can't have fun with you by doing silly things like that. Because if I touch the small of your back now, you're going to laugh. You know?
I don't think Michael wants that reaction from Jasmine.
No, I'm saying, like, you're going to laugh and you know it's going to come from a genuine place. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the way you build relationships. That's the way you build bonds with people is going through those experiences.
Next time you do them, just turn around.
You ain't going to do that. Yeah, dude. Anyway, I kind of got lost with what I was saying. Oh, Mike and his candles too. Mike be lighting some candles. You ain't noticed that, did you? He lights candles just about every time they like show them in the house.
He probably like, these smell good.
Yeah,
they're probably her candles.
Maybe. No, I think they.
But he also did live with women, so that makes a little bit more sense. Because I always laugh when, like, I get up in the morning and I come downstairs and, like, on days you work from home and you're, like, sitting here with a candle lit. Yeah. And I'm like, he wouldn't buy this candle if he didn't live with me.
Man, she said something that she don't feel anything when he touches her because they don't have deeper conversations. That's her problem. And that's rude to say about your spouse while he's, like, right there.
Jasmina has not, since this season has started, been like the most caring about feelings.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Individual. She has definitely come off as cold. Mm-hmm. I know in the chat when we do our Sunday live, someone's always calling her Jasmina, MEAN, because she's mean. She's just not really thinking about that part of it. So
yeah,
it is what it is on that part. But I do hope that she and Michael, I feel like at this point we should be referring to him as Mike because we're friends.
Right.
Still feels so very formal.
She call him Michael.
I know.
Michael.
Will she also be like, Michael? As in, don't start Mike.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really know if there's a way for them to get over this hurdle. She definitely is making it difficult for him to get over the hurdle. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if they want to be married to each other, they're going to have that conversation.
Yeah.
About
definitely.
How, like, what do you need to know about my childhood to make
what you need to know
butterflies when I touch you?
What you need to know about my childhood for you to bust it up?
All right. And on that note,
I'm kidding.
If you guys haven't already, because I'm just going to end it here because he's getting ridiculous now. If you guys haven't already, again, please subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, share this video to a friend, and then comment down below. I don't know what the question is.
What would it take for Mark to say yes on decision day?
Her to shut up.
I'm just curious at this point, what scenarios we can actually come up with that he be like, yeah, she's the one.
I think he's going to say yes.
I think she's going to say yes, but I think he's going to say no.
I think they're both going to say yes at this point because they both have mommy issues and trauma bonding.
Yeah.
And then the very next week, they're going to be like, you know what?
We didn't make it.
We made a terrible decision and we shouldn't be together.
We didn't make it. But with that being said, guys, I'm out. Peace.
Bye, y'all.